Hey, good morning, friends. Thanks for taking a coffee break with us. My name is Alex Murphy. I am a licensed professional counselor and licensed addictions counselor at North Range, and you'll see me on the floors at Sunrise and also in the medication-assisted treatment program for opiate and alcohol addiction. And so I am really glad you're here with us today. I am going to be talking a little bit about stress and anxiety and depression in an environment like what we find ourselves in right now with the pandemic and COVID and the different restrictions that we find ourselves under. And so I want to give you some things that might be able to help to deal with that stuff as well. So, you know, with the things that are going on with our current environment, we've really seen a dramatic increase in stress. You know, that stress, it takes a lot of different forms, right? It could be just the being having to be at home, right? The distance learning that our kids are having to do. I know my kids are finishing up this week and next, and it's not been an easy task. It's not been an easy task for our teachers to teach like that. It's not been an easy task for our students to do it either, or for our families to help manage our kids as they go through that. And then, you know, with work, I'm having to work from home now. A lot of people are having to work from home. Some people are working fewer hours because their jobs have been cut back. Some people have been furloughed, and there have been layoffs. It's not an easy place to be right now. And then, of course, because of that, finances are struggling as well. And then you have anxiety that comes up because you see people wearing masks at Home Depot in the grocery store, or you see people not wearing masks and you'd rather they did. You know, the stresses are build up on themselves, and we have layer upon layer of it. And normal everyday life has quite a bit of stress, and then you add this on top of it, and it's so long. It just keeps going. It's cumulative. That we really begin to feel it, and it begins to affect our behavior. You know, any change, whether it's good or bad, can cause stress, right? You have good things that cause stress. That's called eustress. And then you have bad things that cause stress. That's called distress. And both of those things impact our ability to cope. And so, you know, we have this this thing called a window of tolerance. And this window of tolerance, it is what we can normally cope with, our normal coping abilities throughout the day, right? And our events during the day cause our body and mind and emotions to become more activated, to become more intense, or to decrease in energy. And so that normal range we feel is our window of tolerance. And so when things bump up above that window of tolerance, that's when we start to feel out of control. Or it can actually go down as well and cause us to feel really tired as well. That's called hypoarousal. But when things go outside of that, that's when life begins to feel out of control. And what's really interesting is when you have this constant stress that we've been under, our normal window of tolerance begins to shrink. And so things that normally wouldn't make us feel out of control are making us feel out of control these days. Okay? And so our normal ability to cope or live life without taking extra measures to cope has shrunk. And so we just need to make adjustments for that. You know, when we bump up above that normal window of tolerance, that's when we start to feel things like anxiety. And that anxiety, it shows up all the time, right? And, you know, there have been lots of studies around things like pandemic and prolonged isolation and nearly all of those show an increase in signs or symptoms of depression and anxiety. And so if you're feeling that, it's totally normal. It is what we should expect right now. And, you know, the government even did a study back in 2009 about the impact of a potential pandemic, and it showed that things like fear, paranoia, anger, these things that lead to panic, blame, and even a tendency toward abandoning our responsibilities at work and at home, resisting authority and so on, that those things increase under a pandemic and under prolonged precautions that are being made with a pandemic. And if you're just joining us, thanks for joining us. I'm talking about anxiety and depression and stress and how all of these things kind of fit together in our current circumstances. Those increases or those reactions to stress that we're seeing right now are really normal. And when you have those anxious responses, you might see additional behaviors like you're irritated really easily. And that impatience, that irritation can often look like getting angry at people that haven't done anything to you, right? It's the kick the dog syndrome. The stereotypical, the guy comes home from work after a hard day at work and he starts yelling at the dog or his spouse or whatever. It's displaced anger. It's anger where it shouldn't be. We are angry at the situation that we're in. We don't like the restrictions that we're under. We don't like the fear that can be inherent in the pandemic. And we get angry and we want to find something to be angry at. And oftentimes that is some of the people that are closest to us. It can even be ourselves. We can be angry at ourselves when it doesn't belong there. Another symptom of anxiety is just rumination. We're thinking things over and over again. And can't seem to break out of that, of rehashing this. And then there is, of course, like inability to sit still, inability to concentrate. And sometimes substance misuse goes up with this as well, right? We start trying to numb out that anxiety and calm our mind down with alcohol or marijuana or whatever, right? Like there's lots of different substances that get used for that. Then the other thing that's kind of the bedfellow or the anxiety's cousin is depression. And sometimes it'll come with anxiety, sometimes it won't. But, with depression, you'll find yourself being low in energy. You'll have a lack of being able to enjoy the things that you would normally enjoy, right? Like, if you like to garden, you're not even motivated to go and garden. You're like, I could care less. And then there's the oversleeping. Maybe you're sleeping too much. You're getting more than, the 7 to 9 hours that's really healthy. Or maybe you're getting a lot less. You're not sleeping at all. And then you might have, again, trouble concentrating. It shows up here. Remember, anxiety and depression are kind of go together a lot. And depression's when you're underactivated, when you hit below that window of tolerance, and anxiety is kind of when you go above that window of tolerance. But trouble concentrating. In here, you can have a lot of anger and depression as well. And this is really common for men. We tend to move toward the anger end of things when we get depressed and just kind of angry at the world. For women, they will often have a lot more physical pain because, the stress and pain kind of lives in the same part of the nervous system. And so when stress acts up, it bothers its neighbor of our pain sensors. And for women, this will often show up in terms of headaches, body aches, digestive problems even. So you'll have an upset belly an awful lot, maybe feel bloated, whatever. This can come with depression too. And of course, substance misuse can come with it as well as we try to escape those feelings of depression. Hey, and again, thanks for joining us if you have just joined us. And I'm talking about the impact of stress and what anxiety can kind of look like and depression under our current circumstances and how we might cope with that. So, again, we've got this depression, we've got this anxiety, and this increased stress. What in the world do we do with it? Right? I mean, there's lots of things floating around Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest on this is how I cope. And some of them are good. Some of them may not be as healthy. But, that's that's what we're here for, right? Is to help kind of clarify what's going on and bring some hopefully healthier coping habits. Um, so, you know, there's some really practical things that you can do, and I'm going to leave you with 5 of those, and then I'm going to go into something that's a little less tangible, but I think a really healthy coping habit that will help you to develop a deeper resiliency and maybe even to pull out of depression that you might be feeling right now. So, really 5 practical things. Number 1, you want to plan ahead in this situation. Plan ahead so that you can feel in control. You know, whether that's planning how you're going to interact with family, planning how you're going to go to the grocery store and exactly what you need to pick up for the next week or 2 weeks, planning how you're going to connect with your friends, right? So you want to plan ahead. You want to control the things that you can, because there are a lot of things you can't control in this. The second is, we live in, and I think you've probably heard this quite a bit, we live in this 24-hour news cycle, and so you want to limit the amount of information that you take in. You don't want to be ignorant, right? You want to be informed, but you don't want to obsess. Maybe you only watch the news twice a day. That could be really good, but you don't want to watch twice a day for 8 hours, right? Just twice a day, get the basics, kind of get an update on where things are, and go from there. You don't want to spend your entire day glued to the television or to your news feed. The third, focus on getting some good sleep. You know, Google the word sleep hygiene and see what are good practices for sleep, because you want between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. That is going to allow your body to repair itself, for your mind to be restored, and for your brain to kind of reset. There's some really important processes that happen when you're sleeping, and you want to provide the space for your body to do that. When we're not sleeping well, you can see anxiety jump up, you can see depression jump up, and that's under normal circumstances. So really focus on sleep. You want to continue to exercise and eat well. You know, get out and go for a walk. You know, make sure you're getting plenty of vegetables, leafy greens, make a colorful plate, and make sure you're getting all the nutrients that are important to your body. Stay away from the really highly processed foods and high sugar foods, because a lot of the nutrients that you get from the more colorful foods will help ward off depression and anxiety as well. There is a nutritional component to that. And then finally, practice good hygiene, right? Washing your hands, doing elbow bumps, doing those kinds of things. Again, you're controlling what you can, because there's a lot that's not under your control or within your realm of control. All right, and then here are the less tangible things that you can be doing. So, with the stress that we're under, the unique stress that we're under, that has been going on for a while and will likely continue to go on, or at least we'll see the fallout of it for quite some time. It's what the experts are saying. And so we need to enter this space of just what we would call radical acceptance, right? This is hard, and we have to accept and acknowledge that this is hard, and that there are losses, and that life has changed. In acknowledging that and putting words to it, rather than trying to explain it away or say this isn't hard or I've got this, when in reality we might not. Acknowledging it begins to take some power away from those things, away from those emotions, away from those things. Because when you try and push it down and try to ignore it, it's going to keep screaming at you. It's like if I told you to not think about a pink elephant right now. What are you thinking about? But I told you not to think about it. It's just going to continue to come at you and occupy space in your mind until you acknowledge it. And then just kind of observe, hey, I'm thinking about a pink elephant. And then it begins to have less power. And eventually it'll fade away. You know, our emotions kind of come in a wave. They start out and they get stronger and stronger and stronger, and they peak, and after a time they'll kind of go down again. And so we just need to kind of learn to ride that wave and be observant of it. So that's the first part, acceptance. And the second is working on growing kindness toward ourselves and others, right? Being kind toward ourselves for having difficult emotions, being kind toward other people as they struggle through this, and also just having a more positive heart toward the world around us in general will lift our anxiety and depression in many ways. And it's not ignoring the hard things that are going on. Remember, that first principle is acceptance, but also you want to offer kindness in the midst of that. And so there is a meditation that I like to do and that I've done with my clients, the people that I see, and actually I do something very similar on a daily basis in my life. But it is called a loving kindness meditation, and it's a simple way to offer kindness to yourself and other people. And so I want to guide us through that here during the last few minutes of this coffee break, and so that you have that tool in your toolbox that you can tap into. And again, this is something that you'd want to do on a daily basis. It's not something that you just do every now and again. Of course, anytime you do it, it's going to be helpful. But the more you do it, the more it begins to form your heart and your mind toward this being a natural response to the world and yourself. So, I want you to begin by closing your eyes. All right, close your eyes with your feet on the ground. I want you to feel your body in your chair. And just begin to breathe. Breathe naturally. Just pay attention to that breath. And as you breathe, maybe in through your nose and out through your mouth, I want you to bring to mind an image that's warming and comforting. Right. Maybe it's something like a sunbeam coming in through the window. Imagine that this contains all of the well wishes in the world. All right, get that image in your head and continue to breathe. Next, I want you to bring to mind somebody that you love. It can be a family member, partner, friend, even a pet. It doesn't even have to be somebody who's living right now. Picture that you are sending them this ray of light from yourself to shine upon this person while you repeat the following phrases. I appreciate your life. I am grateful for the beauty you bring to the world. May you be free from suffering. May you feel peace. As you say these things, I want you to notice any sensations of softening or openness in your heart area as you focus on sending this warmth to this person. And it actually could be a very physical sensation. And so I want you to repeat, when you do this by yourself, you repeat these messages for several minutes, sending loving kindness and warm wishes to as many people as you'd like. Right? And so you start with somebody you love. You might next do somebody you don't know very well, somebody you're just an acquaintance to. And you might even choose to do it to somebody that maybe has harmed you or you don't like very much. And last, and this one's really important, I want you to turn your attention to yourself. And I want you to breathe deeply. Let's do this together. So close your eyes again. Breathe deeply as you offer yourself compassion by repeating the following phrases. I appreciate this life. I appreciate my strength. I appreciate my dedication to living healthy and well. May I live a life of meaning and purpose. And may I be free from suffering. Just sit with that a moment. The messages we tell ourselves are very important. So we have tapes that condemn us, that we play in our heads over and over again. If we can replace those with positive messages, it will go a very long way. All right, open your eyes when you're ready. All right, so, the things that I've given you today will be really helpful, can be really helpful for a lot of people, and for some people it won't be enough, and that's okay. Many people are going to experience an increase in their pre-existing symptoms of depression and anxiety, PTSD, panic, even suicidal thoughts, and you'll need extra help. Again, this is okay. We're here to help, and really glad to do it. But, I have enjoyed being here with you, and I'm really glad you joined us. And I hope you will take another coffee break with us soon. In the meantime, I want you to take care of yourself, take care of your friends and your loved ones, even a stranger on the street. And remember that we are here to help. And finally, if you or someone you know is experiencing a behavioral health crisis or a behavioral health emergency, we do have crisis counselors that are here to help. You can call 970-347-2120, text TALK, T-A-L-K, to 38255, or walk into our crisis center at 928 12th Street here in Greeley. But hope you've had a great day, or you have a great day ahead of you. And like I said, we look forward to joining you again for our coffee break. And have a great day.